Let's get this going.
Yeah, let's go. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the More Muse podcast.
What's up? Welcome back, y'all.
Today we got my guy Greg Hansbrough. What's up with you, dog?
Hey, let me tell you guys something. Everybody that comes on these podcasts and says, you know what? This is my best friend. I ain't never met nobody. You know that whole showbiz line. This is my good friend so-and-so, my good friend Jay Leno, my good friend. Well, I can tell you from personal experience that James Moore is my man. He's a good dude. We know each other through weekly meetings in Spectacular Magazine. And you know what? Y'all, I can proudly say that James Moore is my friend. This isn't one of those little Hollywood intros where I say, this is my good friend James. James is my man, all right?
Hey, ditto, man. You my guy, for real, man. You a cool dude. So let's go ahead and get started, man. Your story was hella inspiring, Greg. So just talk to me a little bit about, just start from the beginning. Like, just tell me about your childhood story and everything you went through just growing up.
Oh man, that's quite the question. It took me, I think, 400 something pages to get through that in my book, Enduring Strength. But basically, the whole premise. See, my parents, I come from a very athletic family, a very successful family. For instance, all know Tyler and Ben. Incredible from their sports. But my dad was the Big 8 high jump champion, the first person to jump over 7 feet in the Hearn Center. He played basketball all the time. My grandpa played basketball in the Army. My uncle was a pole vaulter at Florida University. He's now in the Hall of Fame for long driving and golf.
Oh shit, that's dope.
My mom was Miss Missouri when she was younger. She played tennis in college. My grandpa was a professional pitcher. My uncle Corby was a professional pitcher as well.
Jeez.
So there's that. My dad, my grandpa, and my uncle are all physicians. My aunt is a judge. So there's a lot of success in my family. So a lot of things, that was one thing. God's blessed my life better than I ever deserved. But that was one thing that he had in his plan, and I'm glad he put it there because it gave me a different mindset. Growing up in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, which sounds just like it really is. So it's the type of place where men are men and sheep are nervous. So it's a small town in southeast Missouri, and the majority of the mindset there is that nobody there is going to be great. Nobody's going to be good. But my parents, they had a different mindset. My mom was Miss Missouri. My dad was Big 8 high jump champ, all these different things. So that enabled me to kind of have a different mindset. And as a little kid, I was the best at everything I tried, and it wasn't hard. I won every track event. Like I did the 100-meter dash. I won by 10 or 15 meters when I was like 5 or 6. I could dribble right or left-handed, shoot right or left-handed layup by the time I was 5. And then all of a sudden, I'd had these headaches, but I had all my friends telling me how they got headaches at school from reading. So I thought that's what it was. And then one night, my dad asked me to eat dinner with my left hand, and I couldn't do it. I tried, but I couldn't. So him being a doctor took me in to have, I made straight A's too during this time. It wasn't hard. And I went into the hospital, and they did a CAT scan and an MRI and found a tennis ball sized brain tumor in my head. And so that night, I remember my parents grabbing an overnight bag, and we rushed up to St. Louis because in Poplar Bluff, Poplar Bluff's just a different place, and they don't have neurosurgeons there, not to my knowledge. So we went to Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, and while I was there, they told they did some more analysis, and the next day they told my parents that there was nothing they could do because the tumor was located somewhere that they couldn't do surgery. And I had maybe a month or two to live. Well, another thing, my dad and my uncle are both physicians, and I had the headaches were getting rough, but my dad told them not to give me morphine for the pain because it makes the brain swell a little bit. And then somebody that has a brain tumor, if your brain swells a little bit, it's not gonna be good, right?
Right.
So they gave me, the doctors were young residents, and the doctors there said, you don't know what you're talking about. So they gave me morphine, which caused me to have what's called hydrocephalus, which means I have had pressure in my brain from the swelling. And they had to put what's called a shunt in my head there. So my first brain surgery was to relieve pressure in my brain from getting morphine at the hospital. And that's not pointing at the doctors. They thought they were doing things right. It's God's plan, and you'll see that later on. And then, so I went home, and my dad called everywhere, found doctors in all over the country. It seemed nobody wanted to try to attempt this surgery because it was a risky procedure. Then he found a doctor in Russia who said he would attempt the surgery against odds. And then he found a doctor at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota who said, we've got this new procedure. We'll try it on him. It's very experimental, but we'll give it a shot with 10% chance of me making it out of the surgery. And I'll never forget when I went to Minnesota to the Mayo Clinic. They were about to wheel me back. And of course, I'm like 7 years old, right? I'm thinking, I'm missing school. Heck yeah, y'all in school. I'm up here.
I feel that.
Getting to lay around, watch cartoons. And at the time, I noticed a couple nurses, but I remember thinking, all right. And then I was being wheeled back, and both my parents did not want to let go of my hospital bed the whole way. And then as soon as I got to the line for them to take me back to the operating area, I saw both my parents collapse in each other's arms, just in the most heartbreaking cry I'd ever seen. And I guess it was there at that moment I thought, wait, what's going on? And then after the surgery, they wanted to see what the surgery had done because it was a new procedure. I was one of the first people to have it. And they tried to get me up, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand. All I could do was hop on one foot for a short period of time. And then they laid me back down, and everything was different from there on. I had to learn how to walk again. It took me a few months to learn how to walk, stand up in a wheelchair. Had to learn how to get dressed different because my left arm doesn't work as well as my right. So I had to learn how to get dressed again. So everything that used to come easily was harder. So I went back to school. Those 8, after some time I spent with a tutor, and then I gradually got reintegrated into the school, and the A's became C's. And when I used to just lead the pack at track practice, I became near the middle towards the back of the pack. And basketball, I had to relearn how to shoot. Luckily, good shooting form only requires you to use one hand. The other one's there for balance, which is why God also blessed me with having very large hands, which doesn't equate to anything but big gloves. And it really helped me to shoot well. But that is how my life, God used me as a tool for that. And so my life changed because I had brain surgery.
So what do you think God's purpose was for you? Like that, because that's deep. You don't hear about it every day. So what do you think your purpose was, and what you think like you were supposed to learn from it?
For me, that's a good question. God knows better than I do what I'm going to be happiest with. So, for instance, both my brothers played in the NBA, were pro basketball players, stars of college, all that. And one day I was on a run, and I've always had a positive, optimistic demeanor. And I was like, because I'd go down that rabbit hole every now and then. I wish I'd have been like my brother. It'd been cool to be on the Pacers or doing this or that. But then I thought, I get big rushes of endorphins when I'm running. So I just got a big rush, and I thought, they don't know what it feels like to be out here on the trail, having my legs underneath me and just loving it. And I was like, thanks, God. This is great. There's no way I'd be out here doing these runs and experiencing the things I would without having had that happen. Also, there was one person, I did a book signing. And it took me 10 years to write this book. And a bunch of people in my high school looked up to me after they'd already been assholes to me when I was going through the hardest stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was at a book signing after I'd been published, I was at Flyleaf Books. And I had the room kind of packed, and I started talking, giving my intro. And this lady comes in with 2 canes, hobbling, and I was like, a little annoyed. Hey, yeah, go ahead here, have a seat. And I feel bad about that now because she tells me, like, she's so pumped up about being there to get my book and meet me. She says she is relearning how to walk, and she was there to get my book to become inspired from me. And afterwards, I talked with her. That car accident, she was driving home from her daughter's funeral.
Wow.
And I'm not going to get into it too deeply, but she started the first ever section of UNC Hospital for eating disorders. And because her daughter had an eating disorder. And she did that on her own, not like her own money, but she raised funds and got that accomplished. Wow. And I'm standing here looking at her with 2 canes trying to learn how to walk again. And it was all I could do not to cry and say, you're looking at me for inspiration? Jeez, what do you do when you look in the mirror? You're the most inspiring person ever. But the fact that she wanted to read my book to get inspired was incredible to me. Yeah, that made everything worthwhile.
Yeah, that is incredible, man. That's an inspiring story, man. Like, I personally never heard anything like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't, like I said before, you don't hear about that every day. But I you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing that God brought you through that. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously he wanted to use you as the message. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's deep, man. I think that's deep. So just to get into your book a little bit, Enduring Strength, what was your process like while writing the book? You said it took you 10 years. Like, why did it take you 10 years?
Life and probably a little bit of laziness on my behalf.
Shit, it take me 10 years to write a book too. I get tired of writing it.
I started writing it to just kind of get some thoughts down on paper, and then I couldn't put the pen down. It was like the pen took on life of its own, and I just kept going. And I'd have things come up, like there'd be events coming up my life. I'd go and do that, and then I'd come back and continue writing. I wrote everything on a notebook before I transferred it to paper. Just because I feel like when I write in cursive, everything just flows so much smoother.
Okay.
And there were parts that it was very therapeutic for me, because there were parts that I laughed and smiled and had a lot of nostalgia for. Like the basketball goals in my basement that were 6 feet tall. And Tyler and Ben and I used to play basketball games down there on these 6 feet goals my dad had bolted into the wall. He had to put padding up so that we wouldn't batter each other into the cement walls. That's a good image for you. I remember I came home from having the shunt put in my head, and Tyler and I were playing one-on-one down there, and I had my head all wrapped up in bandages. And damn it, if he didn't hit me in the head every time I tried to score. Luckily, at the time, I could still beat him. So I was pretty happy about that. And so that was nostalgic. But there were other times, as an adult looking back, you think, wow, that was really messed up. Because when you're in the middle of a gunfight, you don't have time to sit and think about what's going on. You just kind of react and handle what's going on moment to moment. But then afterwards, you look back and you realize, man, that was kind of messed up. Like, I realized that there were a lot of people that were rude to me. And so I cried a lot. I had tears on a lot of my pages when I was writing about some of the harder things. The times I was thrown down staircases and spit on, had a kid threaten to snap my neck, coaches telling me I was worthless. All these different things made me just cry. I mean, it just had a real visceral hit to me because as an adult, I realized how messed up some of the stuff was. And then there were times I smiled because I could see God pulled me through some of those things so that I could experience other things at Mizzou, for instance. All these different, everything. God is great, but there were times in writing my book, it was therapeutic. I laughed, I cried, I had good times and bad. So that was what writing the book was like to me.
So how did that do for you mentally? Just reminiscing on the good and the bad. Did you go see a therapist, or what I'm saying? How did you deal with that mentally besides, write and cry?
My mom tried to get me to go see a therapist when I was younger because she recognized that there were some things that were affecting me that I probably didn't even realize.
Mm-hmm.
Self-worth and all these different things, but I was too prideful to sit there and open up to a therapist. I thought going there was admitting that I was weak or something, which is completely false. I wish I'd have had the humility to actually go to therapy sessions and taken care of things back then, but I didn't. It wasn't who I was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And writing it allowed me to be more comfortable with everything and just relax and understand myself and all the situations I've been through in a much better light.
That's dope. So writing your book, did that inspire you to become a writer, or were you already writing before you started the book?
James, it's weird you say that because you're an awesome writer yourself. Anybody listening,
appreciate it, man.
Check out James's articles on Spectacular Magazine. He has got a talent for it. He's got talents for lots of things.
Appreciate that, man. For real.
Shout out to Lawrence Davis for that, by the way.
Shout out Law.
But yeah, I started everything in college. It seemed writing was easy for me, and all my friends would spend 2 or 3 days for a 2 or 3 page paper, and I'm like, I can get that done in an hour, half hour, hack it out and turn it in, and it'd be fine. So that's where I didn't recognize it at the time, but in writing the book, it definitely opened up my ability to write and perceive and express myself through the pen. And then I thought, this could be fun, because I left teaching. I was not a good teacher. I'll tell you that right now. I could not get the kids to respect me one bit. So
what subject you teach?
I taught science. I pretended to teach science. I did nothing but mismanage the classroom. I'll tell you that. So, but once I left that, I thought, what do I really enjoy doing? So I thought, writing is that. Something I really enjoyed. Even though writing my book had all the emotions with it, I still enjoyed it. Still enjoyed the process. So I hit up Lawrence in an application for Spectacular Magazine, and once I started, everything just opened way up, and I was like, wow, this is fun. This is what I love to do. I want to make this a career. So I started writing, and that's where I am now. I'm trying to use the things I write for Spectacular to show other people what my passion, and try to turn that into a career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it unleashed a lot for me.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, on a brighter note, you know what I'm saying? Talk to us about your experience of having two brothers grow up and, you know what I'm saying, just get to the highest level of basketball possible. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
It's funny. When I was in high school or junior high, I'm the oldest, so I was always looking around. Everyone, what it's like, and how everybody listening here, I'm sure you recognize that when you're in high school, everybody looks for somebody as D1 like they're the holy grail. They're on this pedestal. Oh, he's going D1. That's who we want to look at. So I was the same way. I was like, who's going D1? Who's going to be the man? And I was looking around for other things. Meanwhile, my brothers and I are going to basketball camps all summer as kids and playing basketball in our backyard. My dad would open the gyms up for us. So basketball was kind of a way of life for us. And we just had dunk basketball games in our backyard. It was just what we did. We had fun, and it was our lifestyle. We just enjoyed it. And looking back, all I had to do was look outside. If I could have seen the future, if I wanted to see great basketball players, just walk outside. Me and one of my buddies did this assignment for English class where we had a fake ABCD basketball camp for high school basketball players, like the top players in the country, And we did a video and everything. We were dunking on each other in the backyard, 7-foot goals. And Tyler, during part of it, Tyler was standing in the background, eating an apple or something, just watching. Looking back, that was awesome. But seeing them achieve success is great. I used to rebound for Tyler when he'd do his shooting drills and develop the shooting routines and things. And Ben as well. It was almost like I was kind of experiencing it with him. Because we grew up together. We have similar mindsets and emotions. So when I would see my brothers go through something, I kind of felt it as well. And it was really fun to watch. Really fun watching them go up. Even now, one of my favorite things to do is watch my brothers play basketball. And pickup ball at the Dome is my favorite basketball to watch in the world. It's just awesome.
Oh, yeah, I believe it. There's a lot of greats that play pickup out there, I bet.
But, it was almost like when I went to the it is like when I went to the ESPYs with Tyler when he dunked on Kenny George. By default, I got to go with him to the ESPYs. And in a land where everybody is somebody, nobody is anybody. So out there in the pickup games, everybody out there was top dog. Whether they're coming in from high school or whether they play in the NBA or, everybody there is somebody. Same thing with the ESPYs. Everybody there was somebody except me. I was working at a factory at the time. I got a lot of looks when I said, hey, what do you do? Oh, I work at MBS textbook warehouse. Oh, what about you? Oh, I'm the CEO for Time Warner. Oh, good to meet you.
Hey, I know it's dope being in that environment though. That's dope being around all those big names. So who are some notable friends that you still have to this day that that played with Tyler or Ben?
Oh man. So with the reason UNC basketball is so great is because of the family feel of the program. I mean, it was okay before COVID. It was okay for me. I'd go in there and lift weights, and some of the guys would come by, and Coach Williams would come by, and they'd say hi. It wasn't like, ooh, that's Coach Williams, or ooh, that's somebody this. It was just, oh, that's Marvin. Marvin Williams was a really good friend of mine. I still text him every now and then to say hi. Of course, all the 09 guys I still consider my friends. And let's see, Ray Felton a little bit. I know Coach Davis now, like Hubert and I played noon ball together.
Okay.
And he was the funnest person to play noon ball with because he talked the whole time. And he and I were playing, and we had the strength coach who didn't play a whole lot of basketball. We were both working to get him to score. we were calling him the franchise player. But then afterwards, we'd walk off the court just talking like old friends. The first time I met Coach Smith, it was like I'd known him my whole life. Coach Williams, the same thing. And then Hubert Davis, we walked off the court from noon ball talking like we'd known each other forever. So it's that family feel that makes UNC basketball so successful. So I feel like anybody I've met through UNC basketball I consider to be my friend, whether it's Rasheed Wallace or Raymond Felton, Marvin Williams, all those guys I consider to be friends. Jawad Williams, they're my buddies. They are celebrities, and I recognize who they are in the world of sports, but to me, they're my friends. There were times I'd lift weights with them so much and not watch them play basketball. They'd laugh at me about telling them how I fell in a mud puddle or something on a trail run. But I'd forget that they play basketball until I show up to watch pickup, and I'm like, wow, they're really good. I just forget. Because I see them so often as who they are as people. I'd forget that they're such good basketball players.
Would you consider your family to be a UNC family? Like everybody is going for UNC no matter what type of deal?
I'm not sure I can really say that because, my brother Ben played for Notre Dame.
Right.
So one year, this was really cool. 2 years, I'll tell you two situations. One year, my mom and I went to the UNC Notre Dame game, and my mom wore and Coach Bray got us tickets. Coach Williams gave me a hard time about that, but Coach Bray got us tickets, and my mom wore a Notre Dame hoodie, and I wore a UNC sweatshirt, and we went to the game together. Before my dad a few years later went to the same UNC Notre Dame game in Chapel Hill. And before the game, we talked with Coach Williams, saw everybody with the UNC program. My dad hadn't seen him in years, caught up. And then my dad finagled his way into the locker room to talk with Coach Bray. So we caught up with Coach Bray before the game. But I'm an alumnus from UNC, so UNC always has a special place for me because I graduated from UNC. I consider myself a Tar Heel, but I still love and respect Coach Bray and the Notre Dame system, and I still have some ties with the Mizzou track and field team because I was the manager there for 4 years and saw my running just grow like I'd never seen it before, to a level I never imagined possible. So, yeah, I guess I'm a UNC alum, but I still have ties to other places.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Fellas, y'all got anything?
Man, I'm low-key lost for words, man. Your story alone was inspiring, for sure. I know everybody that's listening, they got anything that they're going through, they hear your story. There's no way you can hear that and see your energy and how positive you are and the smiles. There's no way you can take away anything negative for that. So if anything, man, I just appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with everybody and with us. Just talking with us, man, because that was a real story, and I appreciate that. Even me myself, I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bad day today, man. I got on here, and then after hearing your story, I'm not gonna lie, I feel so much better. Like your good energy waved off on me. So now I'm over here, man. I don't even know what I'm gonna do when I get off this video call, man. I might go take a walk. I might take a jog. I don't know. I feel great.
Jeremiah, are there onions in your room?
Nah.
Yeah, I would agree though. The story definitely is inspiring. If you can't take something from that and pick up your situation and just keep going, then you just making excuses,
Man, God gets all the glory, Anthony. God gets all the glory. This is all his path. I'm just hoping that I can be the best tool for him I can.
I
Get blessed.
agree. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, Greg, I appreciate you, man, coming on and talk with us about your story, man. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find my writing, my articles on Spectacular Magazine. every now and then. I wrote one today, two today. I have lots of articles there. I live in Durham, and I go to Chapel Hill a lot. You can if you can search for me, you want to look in Carolina North Forest, Duke Forest, or Eno. That's where I usually go hiking or trail running or mountain biking in Brumley. So if you really want to find me, just follow the scent, man. I have very poor grooming.
Hey, tell them where you can find your book.
Oh, my book. That's what you're going for. Follow the scent if you want to find me, man.
Where's this going?
My book is on Amazon. If you want to find my book, just look on Amazon under Enduring Strength, and you'll see.
We'll put the link in the description below.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you're putting the link in there and not a scratch and sniff, Anthony.
Hey, man, I appreciate you being on once again, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, let me just tell everybody listening, I've got nothing but respect for James. James is the man. He does so much, and he's incredibly talented. Anybody listening, just recognize the talent he has behind him. He is an awesome guy, and I'm lucky to call him a friend.
Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you, man, for real. Hey, man, that's a wrap. That's another episode of the More Muse Podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. We out.
Hey, thanks.